Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our laundry room. Today, our host is Heather Yoder with Dyer. Heather, it's all yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I know everyone has a lot going on this morning, but thank you for taking time out to have this laundry room and kind of discuss what's kind of happened in the past in this industry, kind of where we are now and, what it looks like for the future. So a little bit about me. I was raised in this industry. My father, my grandfather, my uncle, they had appliance repair companies. And then I inherited the service company from my father and ran it for about 5 years. And then I sold it off, and now I own Dyer Appliance Repair Academy here in Fort Worth. And so I don't do the service side anymore, but I'm very familiar with a lot of the ins and outs of the industry and just kind of, what's happened in the past. I'm not real sure what's going on currently because I don't have a service industry, a service company, but we do talk to all of you guys that call us all the time and kind of just asking us, what we think about what's happening and the price of parts and this and that. And, so we do get conversations with a lot of servicers. And so I thought this would be a good topic to bring to UASA to kind of put it out there to you guys. And I've done some research with some investors, some stock analysts and things like that. And so we'll just get started. I'd like to hear from you guys on, if in the last maybe 10 years ago, I know a lot of people have probably been in business 30, 40 years. But, maybe if somebody wants to kind of give, how was this industry like 15 years ago? And not really comparing it into now, but was anybody in business at that time, or can really share your experiences, why you kind of got into this, or what it was like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that? Well, I guess we could start with Paul McDonald. I bet he has something to say on this. I know you're a veteran to this industry.
Hi, Heather.
Hi,
Thanks for asking. Unfortunately, I had been around this industry for the last 40 years. So anyway, you know what? A lot hasn't changed and a lot has changed. Back 20 years ago, we were all crying about the D-Day when there'd be no technicians available and who was going to fix appliances, because the population of the technician or the age of the technician was aging out and there weren't any young people coming into it. I can confidently say to you today that after attending the last ASTI, that's not the case. There's a lot of younger people attracted to this industry and coming into it, and it's because of technology. Technology is driving not only this industry, but many industries across the globe, and it will continue to do so. And so by making appliances more sexy and more difficult, maybe to repair, but certainly a lot more processors in them, it's attracting the young folks that want to come back and work on this kind of technology. So that hasn't changed. We still have inefficient warranty rates to make it profitable to do warranty service. And so I think the manufacturers are faced with some big issues. And what we've seen over the last 20 years is manufacturers deciding to go it alone and do it themselves and create their own service of the future, preferred service partners, whatever you want to call it. They have their own factory service or their own network of private servicers that want to do just their work. And kudos to them, because for those that have done it, it's worked well. And the benefit to that is that they become specialized in that brand. And so that's kind of as well. I think what we should be worried about is artificial intelligence and the future appliances being able to repair themselves. And that's something I've said for the last 10 to 15 years is I would not be surprised if on the development desk in some manufacturer, there's a prototype that already can fix itself when it connects to the internet, and it can decide that the element's not working, and it'll change to a secondary element that's in there in that bake oven so that we don't have to go out and replace it. But, the good news is everybody's buying appliances. The pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to us. We've all had a roller coaster ride. It's been a great 3 years for business, way too much, but it's gone well. And the problem is now we don't have enough workforce. There aren't enough people wanting to work in the country. There's 11 million open jobs today with only 3.4% unemployment. So that's like probably 3 jobs to every one unemployed person that's looking right now. So for us to find technicians today, it's even harder because there's so many options out there for them. We've got to pay more. It's proven that labor statistics say that you got to pay 3.6% more to get somebody today than you did a year ago. So, I mean, I don't want to keep talking for you, Heather, but there's my take on what's coming on. And that's why I was so interested to listen to you today.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Paul. So I can tell you here at our academy, and I know there's other schools out there, and that people are joining our classes. We've had a great year. I was speaking with someone yesterday, and I was saying it's kind of hard for us. There's not a real trend. So we've been in business, I think it's 8 years now, and it's not a solid trend. So, one summer may be really busy, and then another summer is like, half full. So, and it's kind of like that every year. So for us, it's really hard to see, the COVID year was different, so we can't really go off that year. But I can tell you in the COVID year, we had a ton of people signing up for classes. Our classes, we were booked, 3 or 4 months out, which was great. We're not booked 3 to 4 months out right now, but there's more schools opened up and there's other things going on. So I don't really go off that year, but it was interesting during COVID to see how many people were moving into appliance repair because of all the benefits that this industry really has. And I don't think it's going anywhere. If I think people are still entering the trade and excited about it. And I will say one trend that I have seen is there's a lot more women. Every year we have more and more women. I should run the numbers again, but last year, the number of women coming through our academy was double the year from the prior year. Maybe 25, 30 women coming through each year, which is more than it has been previously. So that's also, I think, a good thing for just diversity and other other jobs and so forth. Debbie Clintworth, I know you're here. Thanks for joining. I know you're on mute. But what trends have you seen changing since last year or 5 years ago to now? Do you have you seen a big change in your business? Let me unmute her.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, in our business, I see not a lot of younger people wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people thinking that job hopping is a good idea. Going from company to company. I have seen that in my business. I don't know if everyone else is seeing that. They think going from company to company, I guess they think that that's the way to climb the ladder in a company. I guess that's what they have been taught from past. I know that when we first started our business, people wanted to learn the trade and be excellent at it. And I don't see that happening anymore. No one really wants to master the whole diagnosis process. They want it given to them. And in the future, AI is going to step right in so they don't have to. And I don't know what we are going to be needed at that point. We don't have to think anymore. I'm worried. That's what I see. That's just my opinion. I am a little scared about where our future is headed because of the AI. I still think they're going to need us physically to go out there and change parts. But, one of the reasons we got paid what we got paid is because we were knowledgeable, and nobody wants to have that knowledge. So that's just me. What about you, Doug?
Well, I like you picked 15 years, because I think if you go back like 30 years, because Paul's really old and he's been doing it forever, that the trends they're the same trends and they keep rising and falling. Like like new appliances being sold today, I feel like the price point is higher and the features are greater and people are getting excited about buying things that are the latest, greatest. But then if you go back like 15 years ago, we were getting base model washers and dryers, and you just see the ebb and flow of it all. So I think there's a lot of expensive appliances that need to be repaired out there currently. And I just, it's hard to even imagine. Can we imagine that 5 years from now, the manufacturers are pushing base model stuff? It just seems hard that we can go backwards, but I've seen it in the late 90s. I saw it. You can get a side-by-side refrigerator for less money than it would cost to change the compressor. And you're like, well, what the heck, you know? But then stainless steel came out in French doors and all these cool features. Do you imagine, Heather, that we will slide back to basic appliances and they're not the latest, greatest?
I think that some of the manufacturers are interested in that. I think there is a need for that, especially in the elderly population, or maybe people with special needs and so forth. I've spoken with Nick about this and some others, Nick Weber from Samsung, excuse me. But so I do think there's a need. You know, if your child has autism and you're going to spend $1,200 a month probably getting them their therapy and doing all these things, and you want someone like that to be able to have a washing machine that they can just, you know, plug in and just do day-to-day things. And same with elderly. I mean, no one wants to learn all this technology when you're like 90 years old or 85 years old, or I don't know. So I think there is a need. Whether they'll go for it,
How about this? Like, I've been doing this since 1988. So you would diagnose a problem, you'd quote the price, and most customers would go, holy cow, that's a lot of money. I could buy a new one for blank amount. And depending on the ebb and flow, the peaks and valleys, I'd be caught off guard. Like, I could buy a new washer for $300. And I'm like, really? You can? And then I'd go to Home Depot and you could. And then like a year later, you're not focusing, then I could buy a new washer for like $900. I'm going, really? So then I go to Home Depot and you can't find the base model, and they've got big flags and stars pointing to the greatest features. I know someone's controlling what we want. I don't know who does it and when, but I feel like the service industry's got a lot of long life to it. The question is the workforce. Like, in this last 15 years, last 5 years, we've seen a whole bunch of people jump into appliance service. I bet you a significant percentage of them will not stay or stick around because they don't want to persevere through the challenges. So I wonder where the workforce will be a few years from now. Like, Paul, do you think that we have a shortage still, even though we have such a big surge of new guys, new companies, one-man shows coming around? I feel like there's going to be a big need for us steady eddies down the road in the next year or two.
I do think there's a shortage of workers, Doug, but it's across many industries. So it's a global problem, and certainly one in America as well. But there's no way we're ever going to be extinct, because appliances, contrary to what I said earlier, they can't fix themselves 100%. So they're going to need someone to go out and do things to them, install them, deliver them, and then fix them when they break. And as someone said earlier, Heather, I think it was you, that older people don't want this technology. They want to touch a button and go. And I think more and more we're seeing manufacturers go to that, and they're connecting your cell phone so you can see when your washer's done rather than going and checking on it, those sorts of things. I think the future looks great for appliances. It's just, as a service industry, where are we headed?
Yeah.
Do you think that it's depends on which part of the country you live in, depending on, you know, the types of technicians that are getting into this field? Do you think it's more in the East Coast or the West Coast? I guess that might be a question for Sarah. Sarah, do you have a lot of people that, I mean, UASA has grown tremendously over the last 5 years. Where are we seeing most of our new members come from? What areas? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sure.
If you don't know, that's fine, yeah.
They're coming honestly from all over, but it's mostly smaller shops. the 1 and
Okay.
2-man, 3-man shops that are coming, the small independents.
Mhm.
But they are all over. I would say mostly the middle of the United States, the flyover states, versus the big cities.
Mhm. So for people that do warranty, let's say 15 years ago, was that something that, how has that changed over the last 15 years? And where do we think that is going to go in the future? Because I hear, that's what I do hear, is the rates aren't increasing, but maybe the time it's taking to get into these appliances, or just the training on the new technology and all of it, is it worth it to do warranty currently today, versus how it was maybe 15 years ago? Maybe a Lowe's contract, or whoever. Does anyone have any experience? Has anyone been doing warranty for, the last 15 years that could comment on the changes there?
Warranty hasn't, Heather, warranty hasn't changed a lot. They are keeping up with the times in the sense that they're increasing the rates, but they're not keeping pace with, let's say, with inflation. But what they are doing is coming up with tools to make it easier for us to diagnose appliances. When you look at what Samsung's doing with the STC, or is it STC and Haas, and the GE with the Smart HQ and whatnot, they are making these appliances easier to get the information out of them. The appliances are talking back to us. Sub-Zeros and Miele's, all of them are. And so it's from that perspective, it's getting easier, but it's also getting harder because it's much more complicated when you have several different, upwards of 80 different processors in a washing machine that can trip you up. So the diagnostic skills of our technicians today have to be greater than they were previously. The third party, I want to make one more comment. The third party warranty administrators, all you got to do is watch what's happening with on the Facebook groups, how no one's getting paid. Those are the people you want to stay away from. American Home Shield, New Leaf, some of those companies out there right now, they're not playing fair. Manufacturers, though, on the other hand, they are doing a great job, I think, at helping us move this needle. They still haven't thrown money at it, which they need to do, but they're throwing money at it in different ways, as I said earlier, by creating their own service networks, which is unfortunate for us.
What do you mean by that, Paul? What do you mean by that? By creating their own service networks?
Service of the future with Sub-Zero. So they get into a large market, and they find a company and they latch onto that company, and they send all the COD and all the warranty to one company. Whirlpool is doing a similar thing with their preferred service partner program. It won't be long until you see others doing it. Samsung is trying to do it, or tried to do it with Assurion, and they tripped and fell, unfortunately, with Assurion getting involved. But manufacturers are getting back to factory service. In some cases, LG has their own factory service. Samsung has their own factory people now on the street, as well as trying to use Assurion, which didn't work. But warranty is never going to go away. Never going to go away. And for us, those of us that can't make money doing it, we shouldn't do it. We should stick to the COD business. But that's getting tougher to get a handle on as appliances get smarter. Manufacturers can control the COD business that's out there.
And can you imagine, Paul, if we have to have monthly subscription and devices like the GE for every manufacturer per tech, it would start to get really expensive to scale your business.
I do understand that, Jay, but you got to pass that on to consumers. So it's really the consumer is going to be the one in the end. And to your point earlier, Doug, the consumer will just go buy a new one. And I'm guilty of doing the same thing. I had a dishwasher that I had trouble trying to fix, and I just went and bought a new one because at some point it just didn't make any more sense.
Yeah.
I've got an on-demand hot water heater right now that they can't seem to fix. I'm losing my temper on it. It's only 2 years old. So I'm ready to tell them to give me a new one and make some ugly waves about it. And that's what consumers do today, right? When things aren't fixed in a timely, easy fashion, they get upset and they go to social media. And that's the power that we didn't have 20 years ago. This thing called social media, man, Yelp. Oof. You all know what that's about.
I'm Cindy. I'm new to this, actually, really new. My husband bought his employer's business as he retired. And I have business experience. And when we decided to go head first into this directly, I was not given the proper tools for the business side of it because I come from 30 years of doing dentistry offices. I mean, like I was the business portion of the dentist office. There's nothing similar at all that I've found with appliances. So I've kind of doggy paddled my way through, and I really want to get the training. My husband has 30 years experience, so he feels like he's doing both jobs. But the thing that I wanted to point out is, as Heather said, the home warranty company, we only took over the service business so we could work out of the home because it's just he and I that are doing the work. So therefore, there goes the storefront. You couldn't keep up with Home Depot or any of those. But the home warranty companies are pretty much making us take on so many tickets. And if you take that ratio, you're really not making the money. As Paul had mentioned, I mean, don't do the warranty, but they'll be there. There's so many more warranty companies that we've got experience with more recently, because after the pandemic went, we signed up with there was Sears, and that one we lost really bad. And 210 we lost out really bad. So we don't work with them. We do work with American Home Shield, and I find that we're losing money on that end, but I don't have cash income on that side of it to fill in the gaps. And I was wondering if anybody had tips on my side that I could do marketing or anything to reach out to these people, because some of them, like you said, are older people and they're not tech savvy, and who are they going to call to get help? I mean, I just wanted to get some experience.
Cindy, have
Yeah.
you ever attended the ASTI, Appliance Service Training Institute, once a year for United Servicers?
No, sir.
Well, I strongly recommend that you go to that, because that's where you're going to learn the business management that you're asking for. You're craving for, how do I make this business work for my husband? And ASTI and United Servicers can help you learn that. You need to go and sign up for that deal.
Absolutely. I thank you very much for that information.
You'll
And
learn tons.
Yeah, Cindy, and just joining these laundry rooms, I think you will just kind of get in the habit of doing this. You'll get something out of every discussion, and you'll meet some people through this organization that will be invaluable probably to your business. And there's a women's Facebook group that you are welcome to join.
Oh, wow.
Ladies of Appliance Repair. So it's mainly, it could be CSRs, appliance technicians, basically anyone that is involved in appliance repair can.
Right.
It's a girls group.
Yeah.
I've had some men try to join.
The one hardest thing, and this is a strong question, that I come in, as I said, from dentistry, where a forceps is a forceps and a toothbrush is a toothbrush. But in appliance repair, I'm looking at schematics to try to see. Now, I have never taken apart an appliance. I don't know how the mechanics work. But when I'm trying to look up the parts, he'll write down, like, say, for instance, filter head, and come to find out, filter head is 3 different names from all these different companies. It's a different name at Cashwell, or a different name at Tribbles, or a different name with American Home Shield. And it drives me crazy, because how can I learn if it's that many names? I mean, it's like camouflaged in there. So
Cindy, maybe you should start with maybe speaking with Sarah and asking how you can get involved with UASA and maybe the ladies group. Maybe we could get you a mentor there to kind of help you tread through the waters.
Thank you so very much.
So I'm going to move on. I have done some research on myself on this topic. I reached out to a few analysts I know, one with Goldman Sachs and one he's with Bank of America. One of them was going to join today, and he had a family emergency and wasn't able to join yesterday. But I would say both analysts did have a lot of positive things to say about the appliance repair industry, the auto industry. You know, technology is getting greater, but in a sense, it's also going to cause more problems. When technology breaks down, people lose their minds. And it's, you know, he's just said, you know, the appliance repair is a stable industry that, you know, may see highs and lows with, you know, as the economy fluctuates. But both analysts said, you know, they don't see this industry kind of going away, or if anything, it's going to get more saturated with the technology that's coming out, and just how, you know, not everyone wants to go to college these days. You know, it's expensive. Maybe they don't want, you know, 20,000 or more in loans when they get out. And you don't have that with appliance repair. You don't have you may have some loans that you take out to, if you want to go to school or something like that, but it's nothing like, you know, a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree or a doctorate or anything like that. So, you know, they have, one of the analysts did offer to come on at a later time. So we may have him in the future. So I continued to search for, you know, different people to come on and speak. And I did speak to the guy from Right to Repair, and I hadn't really spent a lot of time with this in the past. And so I was really caught off guard. I didn't realize everything that was going on with it. And he may come on another, his name's Matt Zeger or something like that. But it's interesting what they're doing as far as, you know, they really are trying to help the industry, but, you know, I guess it's a controversial topic, because are they hurting the industry? But so what they're trying to do is get legislation to pass laws saying, you know, we have a right to repair. It's not just appliances, it's auto and other things that they are involved with. But you know, basically to say, you know, you can't make these appliances that no one can really even get into, except if you buy the special tool, and it's kind of monopolizing, you know, the industry and so forth. Is anybody familiar with this, or have a thought on if it's something that we should back behind, you know, this legislation, or is it going to hurt the industry? Asking, you know, because it'll say everyone can now come out and repair appliances, right? Like, it's not just, oh, they're going to get the manuals to repair things to everyone, not only service providers, which, you know, I think you know, our audience is a lot of women, right? Stay-at-home moms or working moms, or, you know, they're a lot of times calling to make these appointments. And I can tell you, most women are not going to want their husbands digging into the refrigerator and taking away all these parts and so forth. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to see. You know, actually, it's interesting to hear what you guys had to say about it. Is anybody familiar with what I'm speaking, the right to repair?
I think there's something going on in a court case, right? Specifically honing in on farming equipment in a particular state, which I think is smart. That's how we get things done. You kind of put a crack in the door, and then you try to bust it wide open. So I think, right, Paul, do you think have you read about that lawsuit? I think it's really smart that they didn't try to throw a big broad net on all things, and let's just get some precedent. If the law can agree that they can't do that for farm equipment, then there's opportunity for us in the future to be a part of that.
We as independent servicers back the right to repair movement. Manufacturers, the ones that are against it.
Right.
It's going to take a long time because it's in the court systems. It'll be years before it really takes hold here in America. It's doing quite well over in Europe, but it's not. When we're talking about the service, the future of the appliance service industry, I'm not so concerned about the right to repair, because I do believe it's going to happen, and it's more focused on cell phones and electronics and tractors, like you say, Doug. It's less on appliances. We should be more concerned about, you know, gas ranges and legislation that's going to prevent the sale of gas ranges if you really want to get talking about something that's absolutely silly. But Heather, you mentioned about what I wanted to say was, it's not like getting a doctor's degree to learn how to fix appliances. But the truth is, as business owners, after we've sent our new hire technicians through your program, which I don't know the exact number of what it costs, but we still, as a business owner, have a $50,000 to $60,000 investment in that individual to get them to be productive over the next couple of years. And the problem is, as we alluded to earlier, is the millennial generation that's coming into the workforce today likes to job hop, as you said, Heather, I think it was. And that's the challenge, is how do we get these people, keep them after we've spent money training them to go through your program?
Yeah, the options are endless, right, Paul? So we've seen a big influx in people starting their own business, one-man shops. So now you're fighting and competing with people who now feel more confident that that's an option. Maybe with technology and the support of social media, people feel like they can do this. So now the market of finding a great employee, our competition is maybe them going, I'm gonna go. We lost a great technician last year, and I just tried to make it difficult for him to ever want to leave here. Treat him like royalty, and if he's got a heart to do it for himself, he's going away. I don't know if that's always been a trend, but it seems like more popular than ever.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to stop that from your techs leaving and hanging a sign and running their own business is government regulation. And we've been talking about government regulation for 40 years in this industry, and it'll never happen because nobody can decide on what it should be. So leave that alone, focus on your own business. You keep your employees happy, treat them well, pay them appropriately, they'll stay with you. It's, as Ginny just pointed, Cindy, I think it was Cindy Giles, you pointed out how difficult it is to start up a business and come from another business and step into this one. It's not easy to run your own
Absolutely.
business.
It's not easy at all. And I think I've tried everything, all my tricks, for a different type of business, and appliance repair, I will say, is bar none,
It's
completely
unique.
different.
It's unique, Cindy, and you need to get with Appliance Service Training Institute to figure out how to do it. It's easy to learn once you go to the right people to learn it. But when a technician steps out of working for someone and tries to run his own show, not often does it work out well for them. Sometimes it does. I've had some leave me and are quite successful. I think one of them's on the call here today, Glenn Donnelly, if you want to speak up. Glenn used to work for me. Today he's got, 30, 40 technicians working for him. So it worked for him. It can happen, but it takes.
Yeah, that's true. I did work for Paul for a long time. He was a mentor of mine and helped me out quite a bit. But yeah, it is a difficult business to be in. More difficult now than I think it's been in the past 10 years. Keeping technicians is extremely difficult. But we're just at about 50 techs right now in 4 locations. But as Paul said, keeping them happy, treat them well. I try to make their job so easy. We do as much as we can for them so that all they have to do is go out and run their calls, make their money, go home and be happy. So, but we've had some bad luck as well. We've lost some really good techs that I wish they stayed, but a couple of them went on their own as well. So yeah, it happens.
You can't lose heart, right, Glenn? I mean, you have a good formula to do the best you can, and if you can't keep them, it's okay. You got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
It's been fun over the last, excuse me, it's been fun over the last 10 years. Going back to the original question about, I have route sheets that we used to do on paper, that I have envelopes, and I keep some from 2010, 2012, with 5 or 6 technicians making as much as 14 technicians or 16 technicians when we had our couplers in the truck and our Whirlpool direct drive transmissions in the truck and our even Maytag timers in the truck, and being able to complete things. We didn't know how good we had it, and that's what happens, and so we have to we've had to in the last 10 years on a daily basis reinvent ourselves. And 10 years ago there were still yellow pages. Now it's internet. So everything has changed so much in the last 10 years. You just have to stay educated know your cost of doing business and stay in front of the curve and take your market share. You have to think world class, and you have to shoot for world class, and you have to in your gut, you have to be the best or try to be the best. So I don't know, I'm just preaching a little bit, but so yes, our future is more difficult. The guys can't complete as many calls, but you just have to take those factors, and tomorrow's a new day.
Paul, I'd like to go back to the right to repair. You said that it hasn't been passed in the US, and I think it has. I spoke to Matt yesterday, and I know that there's I think 3 or 4 states that it has been passed, and I think he said a date of July 12th or something like that, where some of the manufacturers have to kind of comply with the right to repair, whatever the law was that was actually passed for those states. Are you familiar with that?
I knew that it had
Someone
been
mentioned
passed.
it here in the,
I was aware that it had recently passed in at least one state. So if it's 2 or 3, that could be news to me. But I don't know when I say it was passed, I don't believe it's like a broad passing of all equipment. I think there was something specific that it was passing on. I don't know the details of it.
right. I think so. I don't think it was, yeah, right. I think there was something passed, but I would have to go back and look at it again.
Yeah, so it's starting to take hold in America, and it will continue to grow. It's going to take a long time, but it's, the people are winning. They're forcing the manufacturers to make it access to repair their appliances or their tractors or their cell phones. It's happening rather than just forcing you to buy a new one.
Well, it's also forcing the manufacturers to, if they're going to give out the manuals on how to repair these appliances, but it's the full manual. So a lot of times, if you buy the GE tool, and you're not as one of their provided preferred servicers, you might not even get the full benefits of it, versus if you are one of their preferred servicers. And that's really, it's kind of like not fair. I think, you're paying for it. Why can't you have, and that's what I think the right to repair is going after, is to give the updated training manuals, or the updated everything, and not, because a lot of times they'll just provide like the things that are outdated. Well, they're working on something else, and they'll just kind of give you, the previous model, so sense. But I think that's part of what they're trying to do as well, is kind of get access to all of these things. I don't know. I think I could see both sides on how it could benefit us, or the other way. Mm-hmm.
It's as an authorized service center for any manufacturer, you can get access to all of the information you need. As an independent who doesn't do any warranty work, those are the folks that are struggling to get the information to fix the new technology that's coming out. And sadly, if they don't find an avenue to get to it, be it through United Servicers Library, the service library, or other libraries that are out there from other organizations, they're going to struggle. And so they have to then take on some warranty work. But there's not enough money in warranty work to make it worth doing, as Cindy has pointed out. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, and a lot of these saturated areas, it's hard to get approval, right? That there really are looking at one or two companies.
The argument on the other side of right to repair is, if you make it available to everybody, you're going to get people killing themselves, sticking their head in washing machines that they shouldn't be doing. All these engineers that went to school to learn how to be an engineer get home and they think they can fix their one and done GE washer that just came out with a heat pump dryer. They're not going to do that so easily without
that's
right
exactly what
training.
we've come up against several times in working with these home warranty companies, especially the bigger ones like American Home Shield. We're what I consider honest, a repair business, and we can't lay our heads down at night if we, are doing something we don't approve of. They'll actually approve a repair for $900 when you can buy a brand new one for $600. And it just doesn't make sense business savvy that, you're thinking on their better half, that they're more opposed to just get a new unit where they're telling us, hey, we'll give you $900 to repair a 20-year-old unit. And I'm like trying to explain to them the actual business side of that. And I don't even know if I'm just talking out of myself out of a job, but it doesn't seem like integrity, that we're looking for,
I say if they're going to pay you $900 to fix a 20-year-old machine, you do it.
Right.
And then they have us come back out on warranty, so I don't know. I guess it's a catch-22 when I look at what my husband's saying. He's seen and done everything. We had to turn down a job the other day because we couldn't get the dishwasher out because the floor was too high. Well, they're yelling at us, trying to figure out who's responsible or who they need to get. So American Home Shield makes you do twice as much paperwork and business. I guarantee you, and I'm not a paid employee, mind you, because we ain't got there yet, but I spend at least 2 to 3 hours on one American Home Shield ticket. So that's not even the text time.
Cindy, there could be a whole laundry room just on third-party warranty companies like Home Shield. I don't think that's what we want to get into here because that's a whole nother conversation.
Good idea, Paul. We'll plan that one in the future.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead it either.
So moving forward, so I know some of the history that's going on with Asurion, but I know they had a lot of technicians. Did they do away with all their technicians now, Paul? Zero.
They laid off the last one a month ago or 2 months ago.
So how do
They're
people?
all gone out of it.
Yes. How many did they have? They had.
I don't know the actual number. I don't want to quote any,
That's okay.
but they spent over $150 million to set that up. They
Mhm.
trained them all and then fired them all because they just
So
couldn't
where are
make it.
these guys? I mean, that's where everyone needs to be finding these Asurion laid off technicians.
And they were all trained technicians out there
Yeah.
and got scooped up. I wrote some articles about that and I know
Okay.
some people at other companies that hired them right away.
Yeah.
So they're probably all working now.
Yeah. When did this happen? Like 2 months ago? A month ago?
Well, it started a few months ago, like several months ago when they started laying them off, but they laid off the last one just a month ago.
So zero technicians.
They
Okay.
had no technicians, appliance technicians left.
Right.
I had one of the Assyrian techs that got laid off, and probably a big problem to all that was they weren't trained at all. So he lasted with me for about a month and it was time to go. So
I thought they trained them heavily on Samsung.
no, he didn't have much training on Samsung at all. He didn't have basic training hardly. He had some refrigeration training from his prior job, working on cold boxes on trucks, and that was it. And he was supposedly the best one out of the group here in Oklahoma. So
Yeah, I know I had spoken with the guys from Asurion and about training and they had to train so many people at one time. I mean, it wasn't something we could really facilitate. So, but yeah, I don't know how I'm sure they had to do some training. I don't know, but it's a good question. I don't know. It'd be nice if, there's the good ones, because a lot of them it wasn't all brand new technicians, right? So because they were poaching everyone's technicians. I shouldn't say all this, but they were doing all these things. And so they had some good quality technicians that were working for them. Everyone wasn't, brand new to the industry.
the guy I had, they did send him out of state for a week-long sealed system training. But that was about the gist of his training, really.
Okay.
What I can tell you about it is that history repeats itself. So if it's not Asurion next, it'll be Amazon. It'll be somebody with deep pockets. Goodman Home Solutions is trying to create a national network today, as we know. Amazon is dying to get in the appliance repair business. So, that whole cycle will repeat itself. The problem with them is they just don't know how to run the service business, because as Cindy pointed out earlier, it's real difficult. It's not like any other business we know. Nobody buys a part, installs it, and then expects to get their cost back with zero margin on warranty parts. That just doesn't happen in any other industry. So it's a goofy industry, but it's a great one. For all of us on this call, we're all, living off of this industry. It's been great.
Mhm. So is anyone actively hiring right now, and they're just not seeing the people apply? Because I know a couple of business owners I've spoken to, and they don't, I've offered to send our students to if they're local here, we know we'll have some students locally that looking for jobs, and they're saying, no, we're full. We're getting people off LinkedIn. Recruitment's fine. And it's kind of shocking to hear that. Maybe it's just people just saying that to me. I don't know, but is hiring getting easier, or is it just retention that seems to be the main problem with kind of the millennials? And I had a service company, and I can tell you the guys I hired, they were in their 20s, and they seriously thought they should be paid like the guys that had been doing this for, the top guys in the company. And it's kind of shocking, but I know it's out there.
The truth is that Heather, in today's environment, the economy today, there's so many open jobs with so few unemployed right now that a single ad on Indeed won't cut it. So if you are trying to hire people the way you did 20 years ago, you're not going to get them today. But if you just go to Career Plug, which is one of the UASA's partners, and learn where you should be looking for technicians today, they will greatly help you think about and look for technicians in places you never thought about. And simple things like on social media. James Dolbear, I don't know if he's on the phone, but Kate Bloom is doing great things with social media to hire people. And they hired 4 technicians over the last year with her social media activity that had zero cost. So check out AAA Appliance, or AAA or 4 A's, I'm not sure how many A's it is, out of Chicago, James Dolbear. They've done some great stuff, and just follow her social media feed, Kate Bloom. You'll get some great ideas on how to find technicians with a zero cost. But you can't just rely on one ad today in Indeed. You're not going to find the people out there, because there's 11 million jobs available and only 3.4% unemployment.
So are you guys finding that you don't have the work to, if you're trying to grow, do you have, I know this is kind of a personal question for a lot of companies, but are you seeing, that you don't have enough business right now? Has it gone on for a long time? Is it kind of fluctuating? Is it seasonal? Any thoughts on just kind of, your own businesses and what the capacity of, are you able to grow or get new customers, things like that? Does anybody want to comment on that? I know it's kind of a personal question to ask how your business is doing, but
Doug, would you say that business is starting to return to normal, Doug? It's back to where it was before pandemic?
Yeah, it's kind of feeling like 2018, 2019, as far as volume and need for appliance repair. Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry,
That's great.
Glenn, I cut Dan Donnelly off there. Glenn, you were going to say something?
Yeah, personally, we're always hiring because, of course, there's the replacement that we have to do. But yeah, we don't stop hiring. But the best avenue we found for technicians actually is from the technicians that work for us already. We've never really had much success with hiring techs that have worked for other companies. Unfortunately, I don't have a single tech working for me right now that we didn't train personally. And they've all come from referrals from technicians that are presently working from us. So that's just our story. But yeah, we're always hiring. My business model is trying to grow into new markets once a year, a new location. That's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, internal hiring from technicians we presently have has been the best method for us.
That's to be greatly respected, Glenn, that you've created a process, procedure, and strategy of training from scratch and retaining them. So, and I know you've spent a lot of years, but you're also gifted in this way of integration and things like that. So yeah, for all of us others who struggle with process and procedure and a strategy that's consistent. It seems overwhelming, but you got to move it to near the top of your list. Otherwise, you're going to just keep running your business with the reaction to the wind in our sales, where Glenn is taking control of it and creating a pipeline that's continuously flowing. And it's not impossible. It's a lot of hard work that, Glenn, you've done, and something for us to strive for.
I taught him
Glenn, what
everything
part
I
of the
know.
country are you in?
Pardon me?
What part of the country are you in?
I'm probably the sole Canadian in here right now besides Paul.
Glenn's
I'm
in
in,
Toronto, Canada. Vaccine.
You're in Canada?
Hey, Paul, we probably service your area now. So if you're, consented, we're doing north now.
Yeah,
All the
But,
way up
you're
to
uh,
Christmas.
lucky.
Scott Pierce is
Everything.
on from Scott, you're in Alabama, I believe, Appliance Connection. He's not having any trouble finding technicians down there. Talked to him the other day
Wow.
about that. He's got a great referral program to Glenn Donnelly's point. Look within your own company for them, your own existing employees, to refer technicians to. Probably a better candidate than most.
And the one thing that's really worked is we pay. So, for example, if any technician finds a friend, or for example, we pay the technician that sources that technician 6 months after the tech's been with us. We give that technician a cash bonus for finding the new technician. So we've had luck actually recently. A couple of technicians came over from Bell Canada or cable companies. They were technicians for them, and we trained them to be techs from the scratch. And so far, they've been happy. They've stayed with us, and it's worked. I think we got about 6 technicians from Rogers Cable in the past 2 years.
So I have a question.
Great.
This is Ginny. So I have a question. It sounds like creating a pipeline like that would be something feasible for larger companies that are well established. For companies that are just starting out, like for example, in ours, we just hired an apprentice about a month ago, and he is being trained from the ground up. And we just don't have the resources right now to create a pipeline of constant influx of somebody and always having a position open, like some of the larger companies are talking about. Can you guys speak to that and like how to, so training is not the issue. I have a pretty decent start on a training document and a tool, but just how to build a team from the ground up when you don't really have the resources to keep on adding to it.
Ginny, my experience has been, and what I practiced was keeping a warm bench. I like to call it a warm bench. So I'm always looking for my next employee because someone's either going to quit or get injured or bail out for family reasons or sickness or other reasons. So I am always looking for my next employee, be they a CSR or a technician or somebody to work in the parts department. I'm just, and as I go through my daily life, every day, if I come across someone that really impresses me, I drop them my card and say, if you're ever looking for work, give me a shout. I may not be ready to hire you when you come, but you're kind of a person, I like your customer service aptitude or attitude, and you're obviously doing a mechanical job, come work for me. I got someone out of Staples who was assembling furniture. That person became a great installer for me. But it's just always, you as the employer are always looking for your next hire. Yes, you may not have the resources to do what Glenn's doing and bring people on all the time and train them, but you, Ginny, are going to have somebody that's going to quit or get injured in the next 12 months, or it's going to have to leave your business. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that concept. I like that concept of keeping a warm bench. And I think it's great. I just think there's definitely a period of time where I think you need to have at least 2 producing technicians to be able to constantly have somebody training like that.
Yeah, you need cash flow for sure, Ginny. It's hard. Like this year from January to now, we're probably slightly overstaffed, ready for the busy season. And so there's been some creative opportunities to offer some training, some paid training, or come in and have lunch and we'll pay you half a day, to hang out, and you just have to kind of navigate through the slower parts. But yeah, I think in the growth of your company, it'll get easier when you got more cash flow coming through. So
I
And that
agree
all goes
with
back
Doug.
to. Sorry,
I
Heather.
think, sorry, Paul.
Renee.
I think it's, I think we all were there where you're at, Jenny, at one point or another. And, it's like all you can do to keep two on the road. And so you're wondering what'll happen. But I think that concern spreads to other things in your business as well when you're small and just starting out. For example, we struggled for years with vehicles, and I know it's been a ongoing thing for other people, particularly during the pandemic. So if we had two on the road and one broke down and we didn't have a spare, we were scrambling to figure it out. And I think that's the same thing you do with techs, because if you've got two on the road and one can't work, you're scrambling to figure out what to do. So, but I agree with Doug. I think over time, and this is probably not the answer that everybody wants to hear who's in your position, but over time, it becomes easier. You kind of learn how to fill those needs as they come up, and how to weather that storm, because that's, it's all it is you just have to hold on tight and figure out what you're going to do next.
So Renee, wouldn't you agree that we just have to be careful not to get complacent? Like when the money's coming in and we're in a good spot and we're playing it safe, we look at Glenn Donnelly and we see him pushing hard. You just have to be brave, at those stages to go, I'm committed to growing them from scratch, and develop that pipeline. But you kind of got to set a goal in a state. You can't just sit back and wait, because time flies by super fast.
No, I agree. And I think, listening to, the comments about hiring from the recommendations of your current technicians, we've done that quite a bit. And I would highly advise people, if you can do it, to do it, or take it into advisement at least, because the one thing I always think about is most of these guys don't want to work with anyone unless they consider them a good caliber employee. In other words, they're not going to hire the fishing buddy that shows up late all the time and can't be depended on and this kind of thing. They're going to hire somebody that they know, because they're working right next to them, and they may follow up on a job from this other person. So they're going to bring on to your team somebody that they trust as much as they possibly can, to do a great job for you, because they're going to be responsible for that guy's work or that girl's work, and it's a team process. And so they're not going to bring a weak link onto the team that they have to work on. That's just my thoughts. I've seen that happen before. I've had guys tell me, I've got a friend looking for a job, but I wouldn't want him to work here, so, and that's honest, right? Yeah. So, I trust them when they tell me this is a great guy, I've known him for years, he would do well. I can trust that because I know they're not going to want to follow him up if he is not somebody that they trust.
You gotta have a strong heart. You gotta have a strong heart. I mean, I just got a resignation letter yesterday from a guy that I'm super excited about, experienced. He came over. He's only been with us a month. He learned service desk in less than a week. So you already know he's a phenom, right? Because that's near impossible. And he was just killing it. And he just sent the resignation yesterday. And then I have another great tech who is getting knee surgery on the 30th, and he'll be out for the whole month of July. He has no idea what he just did by making that decision to have knee surgery in July. It's just, it can get disheartening, but you just got to keep on keeping on, right?
Now, as a spinoff to what Doug said about capital, I know how imperative it is to have parts on the van or parts on the truck to make sure it gets done as fast as possible. I get that. I'm trying really hard to mimic that. But as far as working capital for the small business owner, do you ever see your it getting to the point, because I know it goes high, low, and it's almost every year. It is seasonal, but we're looking at maybe taking out a loan, and I don't want to do that if we don't have to, but as soon as the work comes in, we're fine, we're golden. But the opposite part of it is you're worrying yourself to death with anxiety because you don't have that capital to make sure you could function through the business. So does
Cindy,
anybody have any tips for that?
Yeah, Cindy, it's crucial for you to understand what your cost of doing business is and set your service rates based on your costs so you ensure you're profitable in everything you do. If you do those steps and follow them, James Dolbear has a great one at ASTI, cost of doing business. Dean Landers talks about professional pricing. If you charge what you're worth, you will have the resources to pay for other things, including paying yourself. You should not be working for free.
And Cindy, I sent you a private message to
Okay.
call. We can give you access to those webinars.
Awesome.
And Sarah, if you don't mind, I think Cindy, you and almost all of us could benefit from a peer group.
Yeah.
People who come alongside to brainstorm, to bring
absolutely.
encouragement. We also have something a little less a committed level of our service or network groups as well. So Cindy, you need to reach out to Sarah and she can plug you in with a lot of great resources that can help you help partner with you through all these fun, exciting stories that we're sharing.
Yeah. Are you a member, Cindy? Are you a member
Yes,
of UASA?
we are.
Okay.
I chose because they're a great source. They're a great tool for my husband because he was, under the umbrella that his former boss had, that he was able to receive training from the manufacturers. And if you're just a mom and pop shop, they won't give you that training. You got to kind of find it or figure it out on your own. And these Samsungs and LGs, they'll kill you, man. I mean, you can't get a part. I had one that it took 6 months to get the part. I mean, and this is over an ice maker. And of course, I mean, I don't know how long y'all have been working in the field, but the first time I got cussed out over an ice maker not working, I was ready to hang in the towel. I mean, please, I was like, please prioritize your needs and everything, because that really took me aback as far as that was concerned. But yes.
Thanks
It is a rough, I'm sorry, Heather. I was going to say it is a rough when you're just starting out. And I would venture to guess that everybody on this Zoom call has been cursed out by a customer at least 1,000 times. But you do develop a thicker skin, and you can see things at a distance the longer you're in it. And what I mean by that is you're still going to get up tomorrow, you're still going to come to work, and the phone's still going to ring for the most part. And you learn how to really, what you were saying about prioritizing. Yes, you have to learn how to, as a business owner, compartmentalize the things that you cannot fix. And there's going to be a whole host of things that you cannot change. And it just goes with the territory. So, it'll get better is what I'm trying to say.
Well, good.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. I know we're a little bit over time. I just wanted to end by saying that on the right to repair thing, I did ask the guy that's with them, and is anyone here from Minnesota? Because the four states that has had some legislation passed on the right to repair are Colorado, New York, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. But I think those were in maybe the cell phone things, but the only one that has been passed so far in the states is Minnesota. So I'm not sure of the exact legislation that was passed, but that's where they have made the most progress to date with that venture.
Last year, New York passed the Right to Repair Act. And
Okay,
unfortunately, it did not include appliances.
yeah.
It was a lot of other smaller electronic cell phones and other items like that. But somehow the manufacturers, as we all can figure, they pushed hard to not have that pass. That's the last thing they want. So they won on the appliance side, apparently. And yeah, I just read earlier this week, I think Illinois and you said Minnesota, I know just recently passed some laws as well. So that happened. If you get one state to do it with a significant impact, like Massachusetts did with the auto repair a number of years ago, that's how the independents were able to get nationally get the information to repair the electronics on the cars, was because Massachusetts had a pretty strong right to repair act, and so it's hard to separate one state from the 49 others. So once one falls, the rest of the manufacturers will have to just do it for everybody, and so that's what they're hoping with these one-off states getting these laws passed. But none of them have been strong enough that I've seen. Yeah, maybe Minnesota is. I'm not too familiar with it, but New York's wasn't quite strong enough, at least for our industry.
Well, maybe one day in the future, we may have a discussion with the people from there to kind of get more educated on what's going on. But thank you for everyone joining. And
I just have a couple housekeeping items, Heather. So as many of you know, ASTI is coming up in February 25th through 29th. And I don't know if you guys know, but KBIS is at the same time. So if you are planning on attending ASTI, which we would love to see you all there, we would highly recommend you book your hotel room ASAP in our block. You can do that at asti.us because I guess hotel rates are going up, or they are already high, and we have a really good rate. So if you are going to ASTI, we highly recommend you doing that. There's also on asti.us airfare discounts. So we're still waiting on one, but Delta and Southwest are already up there. And then next we are hosting a training event, which we are currently planning. We should have more details in the next couple weeks in Charleston, September 14th and 15th. So stay tuned for more information on that. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Maggie, and we look forward to seeing you all on the next laundry room.
And I also, Sarah, before we go, I also saw a handful of people asking about peer group formation and interested in peer groups.
Yep.
So if you're still interested, please reach out. I know some of you said you had emailed and
you can go to unitedservicers.com and fill out the information form, and that will come to myself and Maggie, and then we forward it to Fred and Corrine. And if we have enough interest, we typically form these at ASTI, but if we need to form one before that, because there is so much interest, we can look into that. Otherwise, as Doug mentioned, we have the Servicers Networking Community that we just launched in the last 60 days, and you could join that until a peer group forms.
Yes, and it's a little bit more flexible, I think, after the formation of the peer groups to jump on that, and it gets you going, kind of gives you an idea of what it's like to be in a peer group. So I encourage everybody to do that if you're interested.
Sarah, do you have to be registered for the conference to book the hotel?
Yes. No, you don't.
You don't. Okay.
No.
Wondering. Okay.
So Sarah, you were saying, like, because there's multiple conventions, it's going to be very busy in Las Vegas.
Yes.
That the prices of the rooms are kind of spiking because they're
From what I've
anticipating.
heard, KBIS is partnering with another kitchen and bath show, which is going to be the largest convention Las Vegas has ever hosted. So they are taking like all the rooms, which thankfully we booked ours before. So like I said, if you are planning to attend or even just debating it, I would recommend booking your room. You will be charged for one night, which is only, even with the resort fee, I think it's $149 or $159. But then if you cancel, or if you need to change it, you can do that, or you can let us know. And they are transferable. Any other ASTI questions? Well, Heather, thank you so much for hosting today. And this was a great laundry room. I think this was the most cameras we've ever had on. I love it. And we look forward to seeing you guys all again in 2 weeks. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, everybody.